Peace to the family. It's Brother Polite, and we're here for our second installment of the UCC and real estate course. Let's get straight to it. We have a lot of work to do. I just want to keep you guys in mind. Keep something in mind, that the way I teach is under the presumption that we're not here nickel and diamond. The way I teach is under the presumption that we are looking to amass wealth, not make just a few coins. So in order for me to be successful in this endeavor, I have to be surgical with the information. So I don't have fillers. There's no fluff. Everything is necessary. And because I'm being so meticulous, for those of you that may not be familiarized with my teaching style when it comes to courses, I will be seeing you next Saturday and the Saturday after that and the Saturday after that. We're going to get this thing right. But in the interim, you'll be able to pick up things that you've never been presented, things that you've never been considered, or things you've never taken into consideration before. And that's what this is all about. Holistically approaching our studies in such a way that when we do deploy into this world to conduct transactions, secure transactions, that is, we can rest assured that we will be doing it at the highest level. So without further ado, let's get into this UCC and real estate class. Part 2, this is the Matrix Part 2. The first thing I want you guys to do is take a look at this tome number 65, inequity or iniquity, debt wealth or asset wealth. This is extremely important, this particular tome. We'll be reading some excerpts out of this tome, working out of this tome very closely in this particular class, alongside real estate or legal fiction. So please be sure to get this tome if you haven't got it already. So here we are, UCC and real estate, the Matrix 2, the red or the blue pill. So we're gonna somewhat recap on what transpired last week, which is the water breaks, just like when a woman's water breaks. And we were able to see a correspondence between what it means to represent for a woman's water to break and bring a child into this world, and what it means and represents when the ship breaks into the waters and brings its stock to the dock. Where do babies come from? We know we say babies come from heaven, and we know etymologically the word heaven is haven, and that is what? A place where ships break into the waters. So we know that the red pill is hard to swallow, and that the blue pill, well, that's that ignorance is bliss. We want to be in a blissful ignorance. Many of us are on that blue pill. We understand that. So let's really get an overview of what's going on. I didn't use the word birth last week because I wanted to save it for this one. So the whole birthing process, because we talk about the birthright, okay? We talk about the birthright. So let's look at this. Babies come from heaven. Okay, that's the blue pill. But we understand when we swallow that red pill, that heaven is haven, and that's a place where ships break into the waters. So we're talking about the birth process. But B-I-R-T-H is what we're acclimated to. But when we deal with commerce, we deal with the red pill. And when we deal with commerce, the birth that we must consider is the B-E-R-T-H, which is a dock or pier where a ship is tied up. So when a ship is at its birth, that means it's broken to the waters already. It's already there. It's locked in. Okay, so the woman gives birth, and the ship can be at its birth. So the mother's water breaks, and we know the ship breaks into the waters. So it can be at its birth in haven. Okay. And then we have the birth certificate, which is the certificate denoting manifestation, represents the child's value as stock. And so the person accountable for the stock on the ship has a certificate of manifesto, and it represents the value of the stock is found on the ship. So you have the birth certificate denoting manifestation of the child, and then you have certificate of manifesto. In both cases, they're stocks, because when it comes to the woman, she sells your birthright inadvertently, your right to birth. So when we take this red pill, we realize what the riverbank is. Okay, we know what the riverbank is, because when that ship is at its birth, it's normally near the riverbank. But the bank we got to consider, in light of the certificate, per the waters breaking, due to the birth, as the child has just come from heaven or haven, we understand that the Department of Commerce registers the birth certificate, and that in turn will represent the equity to be held in the Sestique Trust, the Sestitui, the Sestitui Quay Trust. So I hope you guys are walking with me. So we got heaven, haven, birth, water break, certificate of manifestation or manifesto, birthright, soul, and riverbank. Heaven, haven, birth, water breaks, certificate of manifesto, bank, as in riverbank, birthright being sold. There you have it, the blue pill and the red pill. And the reason why all this is important is so you understand that the laws that they're using to govern our lives are the laws of admiralty, okay? The laws that are used to govern the seas, the laws that are used to govern waters, okay? That's admiralty. So they're not dealing with you like you are flesh and blood, organic living soul. They're dealing with you as though you are stock. Hence the reason you're on the stock market, because your birth certificate has a QSIP on it, which is a Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure. The reason why all of this is important, because when you deal with real estate, we have to consider what exactly is property, what exactly is real property. The reason why all of this is important is because once you come to terms with what is property or what is real property, what is tangible, what is intangible, what is a general intangible, once we start getting into that matrix, then you'll understand why certain taxes exist and how they configure taxes. Then you'll understand how to properly securitize your transactions. That is to say, how to make your transactions more advantageous to you if you buy them under better pretense. So no, this is not fluff. No, this is not me dealing with philosophy to buy time. This information is as integral as the transaction itself. In fact, it is even more integral than conducting the transaction. You must know that they're using the laws that govern the seas because of a false presumption of law that you are inadvertently in conformity with until you make that status correction. So let's go to the next one. That's why I said we have to be surgical when it comes to this. I want to make everything extremely clear that we need this information. We need to understand why things are the way it is. So when we know why it's that way, we know how to respond properly in commerce. So our homes don't get foreclosed on, because some of you took this course so you could just learn how to buy a house without being implicated, without all those foreclosure discrepancies, without the high interest rates, the illegal interest rates, without having to buy it way overpriced, it being the property. Others of us are concerned with buying properties in general and selling them back. Wholesale, as some would like to say, which is almost a semantic when you deal with this type of commerce or these type of commercial ventures. But fine, we'll talk about that when that comes. Some of you will be educated or lean towards buying the properties and making it available to the government so that they can have a halfway house for people that come from prison and they need that transitional venue. Some of you may use it to provide for opportunities for the government to rent the property out from you in order that elderly people can have a place to stay. When government checks come quite frequently and very consistently, because they're not going to tell you, yo, my bad, my baby mama hit me up for child support and I ain't got the money. So whatever the reason may be for you to get the new property, the fact of the matter is you want to get the property and we want to minimize the implications politically, socially, and economically. We want to minimize the financial burdens. We want to get the property for as cheap as possible, but not because the property in nature is cheap, but because it don't suffice to pay that much for something that's overpriced, because they're selling it to you under false pretense of your person. Hope you guys are walking with me. So there's things during this UCC course that I definitely need you guys to understand. Because remember, this is a UCC and real estate course. So you're going to learn both UCC and you're going to learn real estate. I made this course a composite of the two in fear that some people, because they're so oblivious to what the Uniform Commercial Code is, that they would never take into consideration the expedience of making sure they know and understand the UCC code and how important it is when it comes to conducting not just any transactions, but secured transactions. This is extremely important. So these are some things I want you guys to take into consideration. How to conduct filings, how to secure transactions. You'll also be learning about some of the common mistakes when filing. And you say, why would you teach us about the common mistakes? Because it happens so often that it suffices to say we need to just take a look at it. Like, for instance, people who deal with the UCC and don't know nothing about what a security agreement is. So we need to make sure you understand what a security agreement is. We got to really be thorough. So we'll change gears. And we'll get into real estate here and there, but please understand, when I say get into real estate here and there, I'm talking about the part that many of you probably came in here interested in immediately. But for me, I'm getting into the real estate right here because once you have that obligation to that property, that's it. So I'm at the obligor space right here. The obligor, the obligee. I'm over here. Because this determines your fate with that property. This determines the benefits you may get after getting that first property if you do it the right way. This may determine the benefits you have in light of you securitizing your transaction properly, your previous property, your next property will have benefits afforded to you because you may have conducted the transaction as a secured party creditor. So these things are extremely important. I can't stress it enough. So you'll learn how to conduct filings, how to secure transactions, learn about some of the common mistakes when filing. Why is it necessary to use UCC when it comes to real estate? These are things you need to know. Now let's talk about changing the person's status. What is a corporation? We went over this, but let's get a little more insight. What is a corporation? A corporation is an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state or a nation. composed in some rare instances of a single person and his successors being the incumbents of a particular altus, but ordinarily consisting of an association of numerous individuals who subsist as a body politic under a special denomination, which is regarded in law as having a personality and existence distinct from that of its several members, and which is by the same authority vested with the capacity of continuous succession, irrespective of changes in its membership, either in perpetuity or for a limited term of years, and of acting as a unit or single individual in matters relating to the common purpose of the association within the scope of the powers and authorities conferred upon such bodies by law. And here we have case law. You want case law because case law is your reference to this definition. So you can see how it is active. So you know you're not just referencing the definition and you still hold it in speculation. No, we can say, okay, we got references to what an artificial person is. So what is a corporation? I want you to hear these first parts. A corporation is an artificial person. They've been treating you like an artificial person. A corporation is an artificial person or legal entity. It's an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state or nation, composed in some rare instances of a single person and his successors, being the incumbents of a particular altus. An artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state or a nation. That's what a corporation is. It's an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state or nation. This is the power that has ruled your lives, i.e., you get pulled over driving, the state of New York summons you to come to court. Who the heck is the state? Well, that entity, that legal entity is behaving like a person that is summoning you to appear in court. And we'll talk about that at a later date and time. I just want you to get hip to what's going on. All right? So featuring Black's Law's Dictionary, free online legal dictionary, second edition. This is very important. I want you to look at these key words, individual and artificial person. Now look at the word estate. What does estate mean? As in real estate, right? What does estate mean? Estate means rank, standing, condition. From Anglo-French, estate, Old French, estate, state, position, condition, health, status, legal estate. So the word estate takes us to the word status. For the unetymological, worldly prosperity, specific application, landed property. Okay, we're gonna go down here. Conceived as orders in the body politic, date from late 14th century in France. They are the clergy, nobles, and townsmen in England, originally the clergy, barons, and commons, later lords, spiritual, lords temporal, and commons for fourth estate, C4. So the key words here is rank, standing, status, body politic. You may realize oftentimes I refer and acknowledge our new covenant venue as a body politic, not as merely a community. And this body politic consists of clergy, nobles, townsmen, barons, commons, lords, spiritual, lords, temporal. We'll talk about that at a later date and time. But what I want you to focus on is the fact that when we look up this word estate and we look at it from the etymological dictionary, you have the source material right there. We see that the word estate, here we go. We took the blue pill and thought we knew what estate was. But when we take the red pill, we find out that estate renders onto us a certain status. You have a certain status. Your estate confirms your status. I hope you guys see what's going on here. So you have this here as a reference. Let's move forward. Real estate or real status. How about this one? So when we looked at estate, we'll go back at it one more time. Estate etymologically means rank, standing, condition, state, position, condition, health, status, legal estate. State or condition, position, place, social position of the aristocracy. Okay? Then for the unetymological sense of property. This is important. So now we know estate has a great deal to do with status. That's why credit is so integral, because credit is a form of a class system where there are different statuses, and each status has that much more or less privilege than that of the other status that precedes it or comes after it. So we know when it comes to purchasing real estate, a lot of times your credit will determine the privilege you have to embark upon or close a transaction. You have to have a certain status to avoid or alleviate some of the additional things that they add on to you, the additional burdens. Estate is status. Don't let no one tell you anything different is right here. You need to know this. When we talk about a status correction in our new covenant body politic, we are talking about making sure your credit is on the level. We are talking about the way in which you close a real estate transaction. We are talking about your financial condition or disposition or standing or rank. What is your rank or standing in society? That's what we're talking about when we speak about a status correction. Because when you corrected your status, it's easier to not only close transactions, but to securitize them. So just walk with me, because this is going somewhere. So the next thing we want to look at, there's some key words here. All right? We saw rank, standing, status, and body politic, but look at this. The lease, deed, grant, bill of sale determines status. The lease, deed, grant, bill of sale determines status. It's important to understand the doctrine and then understand the doctrinal differences. These are all different doctrines. If you understand the doctrines that make up the genre that you call real estate, you will be able to peruse through your studies a lot better, and you will quickly escape the novice level or the neophyte level. You will transcend those intermediate levels, and you'll be in a space seemingly by yourself for the better good. What is real property? Real property, also referred to as real estate, realty, or immovable property. Very important. Real property is immovable. You can't put it in your bag. It literally means this. Okay, if you're talking about real property, referred to as real estate, that is to say realty or immovable property, is any property attached directly to land as well as the land itself. It is any subject of land that has been improved through legal human actions. Real properties include buildings, ponds, canals, roads, and machinery, amongst other things. Breaking down real property right here. Real property is composed of any designated portion of land and anything permanently placed on or under it. The elements on or under the land include natural resources and or human-made structures. Reference Investopedia for this information, okay? Let's go. Jurisdiction, crown. There's a crown doctrine no one ever told you about. There's a crown doctrine. That's why you want to get that book called Head of the Crown, Sovereign Bible. Head of the Crown, Sovereign Bible. That's that black and purple book, or purple and black, I should say, with our flag right up in the front. Get that book. That book is going to take you into this world. This part of the information gets to you. You need to get into the doctrine so you can understand what it means it represents to be an owner. What it means it represents to be an owner of estate. An owner of status. Because you don't own your status because of a presumption of idem sonans. Once you've corrected your status, which you can, through properly securitizing a transaction that ascertains to real property, you then establish a state or status. The real part is for the property. The estate is the status affixed to you based on how you bought that real property. Hence the term real estate. You want to get a real status, not one that has been given to you or allotted to you by default of a conditional interest or a presumption of idem sonans. Your name and identity being mistaken for another name or identity that has been generated to do so because they created a legal fiction, something that they know is inaccurate but works to their convenience in law. We went over this the previous class. It's all starting to come together. This information is extremely important because when we purchase property, we're gonna do it at our highest level with an understanding that'll turn into an understanding, that'll transcend the understanding and become an overstanding. And these are semantics just to drive my point home. What is jurisdiction? Origin, Middle English, from Old French, jurisdiction, from Latin, jurisdiction, from jus, jur, meaning law. Indictio, saying. The dictionary should be the definitionary because you open it up not to understand diction to preference or as your priority. You open up that book with meanings to look up the meanings. You open up that book to look for the definitions. So the definitionary would have made sense. The dictionary should be called the definitionary, unless you are educating people about diction and you want them to understand how to properly pronounce or enunciate the words that they're using. Diction is what is being said. When they show you diacritical marks, or when they show you how to phonetically say a word, that is diction. what is being said and how's it being said. So jurisdiction, juris being law. What is lawfully being said? When you have jurisdiction, you are certain that something is legally being said without you having to open your mouth. Something legally is being said. Trespassing on someone's property is a matter of jurisdiction, because the manner in which you bought that property and the capacity in which you own it. Trespass is a matter of jurisdiction, because trespass tells me that what is lawfully being said is that once I cross a certain threshold or come in within a certain parameter, I'll be subject to the reasoning of the owner based on their laws. When police just can't run up into your home, which they still do to many of us in our community, the question is jurisdiction. Do you actually own the said property? And in what capacity do you have a relationship with that property? Because that which is legally said will never be misconstrued when the stakes are high, when the stakes are little to none, because there's no status. That is to say, no estate, because there's no real property and no real person to consider, because both the actual flesh and blood is considered the transmitting utility, the legal fiction, the corporate fiction, the legal person, the person, and the property isn't owned properly. So what is legally being said? Nothing legally is being said. Therefore, there's no question of jurisdiction. When you own the said property properly, you can leverage that rank, that standing, that condition, that status into opportunities that are greater, of more grandeur than that of the one that got you in the conversation in the first place. It's incentivized. In common law systems, land tenure is the legal regime in which land is owned by any individual who is said to hold the land. The French verb tenir means to hold, and tenant is the present participle of tenure. The sovereign monarch, known as the crown, held land in its own right. All private owners are either its tenants or subtenants. Think about that. The crown held land in its own right. Look at the word, the crown. Held land in its own right. All private owners are either its tenants or subtenants. Tenure signifies the relationship between tenant and lord, not the relationship between tenant and land. Over history, many different forms of land ownership, i.e., ways of owning land, have been established. Tenure, the conditions under which land or buildings are held or occupied. Sovereign monarch, known as the crown, held land in its own right. When you own property free and clear of a conditional interest, banks sell you properties with a conditional interest. That is to say, other people are involved and you don't even know these things. That's why you got their UCC code last week. When you own a property free and clear, void of a conditional interest, void of encumbrances, that property is now rendered a crown in common law. Modern day is considered having a fee simple relationship with that property. For all others, no matter how much they say they have a house, they're just tenants. Tenure. The tenure at your job. Your stay for as long as you've been working. You're just there babysitting someone else's property, even though they gave you the wine. They gave you the flowers. Let's congratulate this person that just closed and got their first house. You're only a tenant of your own property. In fact, if you look at your deed, if it's not a warranty deed, it's most likely going to read tenancy deed. Look at your deed. They sold you a property under false pretense, yet put it right in front of your face. You're only going to be a tenant of this property. It's going to be ours even if you pay for the whole damn thing. And when you're gone, your children won't even have enough knowledge to fight for it. And if they do, they still are not going to inherit it. Unless somebody did something very slick, or you just had the right type of people work on your behalf, maybe have the property held in trust. Maybe a partnership agreement trust. I don't want to jump the gun and go too far. But let's be right here. Most of you have tenancy deeds. Most of you will only be tenants of the properties that you think you have. Oh yeah, I got my own house. Yo, you in a rental. But you're paying mortgage, and even though you think you own that house, both of you have tenancy deeds, but you're worried about if somebody's in a rental property. Almost all of America is in a rental property. When you own the property free and clear, that is to say, when you establish what's called a perfected claim, which is a lien you put on your own property. We'll discuss that in classes to come, perhaps even next class. When you own a property free and clear, void of a conditional interest, and you diffuse the presumption of the item sonance, and you establish a perfected claim, which is a type of lien that you will conduct on your own property, that property is now rendered fee simple as far as the relationship you have to it. And in common law, when you establish a perfected claim with your property is considered a crown. And who wears a crown? The sovereign wears a crown. The sovereign, the king or the empress, they wear a crown. I didn't say queen because etymologically the word queen means whore. When the word queen first was evolved, the intention was whore. Then they later make something that has a negative connotation have a good one. So I tend to say king and empress, or emperor and empress. But I'm not knocking no one who uses the word queen. I understand what you're saying. But people will turn around and tell me, don't say the N word. Don't attempt to make it a good word. But originally the N word was a title of nobility that denotes an Ethiopian sovereign. Niggas. And when this white man seen niggas, seen black kings, he hated those niggas. And it took on a negative connotation. And now we interpret the word as something bad. But then we embrace words like black and queen, my black queen on top of it. But this is the game that they play when it comes to etymology. We got to keep up. We got to keep up. The games they play. The games that they play. Let's go to the next one. I know I proved my point on this one. So here you have a fee simple relationship, or the crown. Your property is considered the crown. The emperor or the empress wears the crown. In doing so, you establish jurisdiction, that which is lawfully being said. This also renders onto you a different status, reminiscent to that of royalty, because you own this property in an individual capacity, reminiscent to that of the more macrocosmic aspect of it, being a country. When they own a property, a country owns a property within a allodial title. You own your property, having a fee simple relationship. Let's keep it going. So fee simple in English law, a freehold estate of inheritance, absolute and unqualified. An absolute or fee simple estate is one in which the owner is entitled to the entire property with unconditional power of disposition during his life and descending to his heirs and legal representatives upon his death intestate. Do you hear that? That is idealistically the way we need to own. That is idealistically the way we must acquire. The acquisition of real estate is embodied by the fee simple relationship. That is the status correction book. New Covenant Status Correction. Get you one. This is the Sovereign Bible. Takes you into the doctrine of real estate. So when we say we're sovereign, we're saying that we're acting in our majority, not our minority, children, adolescent state of minds as adults. We're acting in our majority, you can tell, based on the way we purchased property. When we say we're sovereign, we're saying we own property free and clear, void of a conditional interest, employ wealth stewardship, generational wealth, where we will not be victims of probate, because we got our trust, which is property held on behalf of one so that another may benefit. So in this lifetime and the ones to come, our wealth exists in perpetuity. It's perpetual. Hope you guys are walking with me. So when you see the term head of the crown, as I am head of the crown, illustrious supreme grand apperception of our new covenant community, Nasu Amun Re Sin Atum Re. Okay? And let's take to the highest level, new covenant body politic. I didn't make up the term head of the crown. It's a real estate term. It's a status. It's a higher status when you wear a crown. So why would they come up with a real estate term called head of the crown? Head of the crown is a real estate term that is also a synonym for the sovereign. You're considered sovereign when you own your property properly. And your property is rendered your crown. It is your responsibility to, at the very least, own dirt. Because of anything else that could get put on top of it, by default, it'll be yours. Ponds, rivers, lakes, edifices, and other structures made by man. We read those definitions, it's coming to fruition now. It's all getting clear now. Own you at least the dirt. Own at least the dirt. Trust me. Get you one. You need that book. The book is called Trust Me. Trust me, the UCC works. The trust is private, equals creditor. The other entity is public. That's the relationship you're going to create. So your trust is going to be private. One hand will wash the other. Some people want to be so private, throw the birth certificate away, throw the social security number away, and then they can't even function in society. Other people so public, they'll never get the privilege that the private get. So you got to set up a first in line first in time, lien. This is how you perfect the claim. No, mortgage is a lien. You go to DMV, they got a superior lien over every vehicle before you even bought it. That's why you got to know your UCC code so you can reduce that superior lien that they have by default to a subscription. You sign on that application and reduce their claims to a subscription. We'll get into it. The trust is private. It will be your creditor on the UCC financing statement. The other entities are public, whether it be the LLC, the PIH, the S Corp, the Type B gift company, the non-for-profit, the for-profit. Therefore, the entity is bailee. You have the bailer and you have bailee. So the entity would be the bailee. The trust would be the bailer. Don't worry, you'll get it in time. We just need to put that first stone in the northeast corner and start building from there. We're carpenters, we're masons. We're going to build this thing up. Don't worry, we'll get there. What is a secured party? The lender or seller who is holding the security interest or lien that is against an asset that has been pledged. Secured parties are paid first before the unsecured ones. Let's make that clear again. Secured parties are paid first before the unsecured ones. So we need to make sure we're secured parties. We get our monies up front. Before the transaction takes place, we get paid. How the heck we do that? See? Before the transaction takes place, we get paid, or we have access to equity. The lender or seller who is holding the security interest. The security interest can be the land, it can be the house. That's the security. Okay? We're going to get used to this because what we're going to have to do is set up the nomenclature so we can understand what a bailer and bailee is, what a grantor or grantee is, what an obligor or obligee is, what a settler is, what a trustor or trustee is in regards to the trust itself. We're going to have to get into this, what a secured party creditor is, the difference between UCC 1s and 3s and 9s, intangible or general, tangible or general intangible. We're going to have to get into what is all of that. We have to learn it. Don't avoid it. When you take possession of this information, no one will be able to rule you again by default of your ignorance. You will get this. It doesn't matter. I always care. I don't want to say that. Words are a GPS of reality. It doesn't matter what you don't know while you're learning, so long as when you're done, you have that knowledge in your possession. Trust me, the UCC works. What is a trust? A trust is a fiduciary relationship in which one party, known as a trustor, gives another party, the trustee, the right to hold title to property or assets for the benefit of a third party. The beneficiary. In finance, it can also be a type of closed and collective investment fund built as a public limited company. Source Investopedia. Breakdown trust. Trusts are created by settlers who decide how to transfer parts or all of their assets to trustees. These trustees hold on to the assets for the beneficiaries of the trust. The rules of a trust depends on the terms under which it was built on. In some areas, it is possible for older beneficiaries to become trustees. For example, in some jurisdictions, the grantor can be a lifetime beneficiary and a trustee at the same time. All of this will make sense in due time. That's why I write these publications, what we call them tomes. It's very powerful subject matter. tome number 70, trust me. It's always complimentary. So what you get in the PowerPoints won't be in the books, but you'll be able to recognize why you need the books to connect with what you get in these PowerPoints and these videos. On occasion, you'll see some stuff just immediately out of there, extracted because I just need it for a reference. So when you read the book, you can say, okay, this is that section from class. But if you learn about purchasing property and no one taught you about a trust, that's insane. How do you learn about real estate and don't know about trust or uniform commercial codes? In fact, that means you learned nothing. Because these are the things that the pros are going to use. First in line, first in time. What is secured party? What is a secured party? It's the lender or the seller who is holding the security, interest, or lien that is against an asset that has been pledged. Secured parties are paid first before the unsecured ones. Commit this to memory, everyone. Control everything, own nothing. When you're done with this course, it may look like you don't own anything, but you certainly will have the control. That's what the trust does. I don't want to be known to have millions of dollars. I want to be known to control millions of dollars. I want to control millions of dollars. Don't want to own it. If I own it, then there's so many tax implications and other nuances that comes with it. But if I can control it, why do I need to own it if I can control it? So give me the power, give me the control. So yeah, ownership it makes plenty sense. Ownership is extremely important, but not for me to own. When I play the game they play, and I set me up an entity. I set me up a legal person, an artificial person, and let the artificial person own. And that artificial person, the company, will assign me as manager. So I control everything, but I own nothing. Talk to that legal person about the ownership. Talk to me about the control. Because the trust don't control nothing. I control everything. The trust just owns it. The settler did that. This will save you a lot of money, a lot of headache. It will win you favor if there's any discrepancies. I cannot just sit here and say, well, if you have $600 here, I can show you how to get a house over there. That's probably $80,000 or 150 grand. Or I want to play that game with you. I want to take you to the highest level. Because as you evolve, then you got to go back and study again, go back and study again. Each time you realize whoever taught you didn't teach you enough. So the blue pill, we are all too familiar with. LLCs, for-profit, not-for-profit, S.A.R.S. Hey, everybody get those, right? Trust, very few of us get that. Nor do we understand it. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's good for you. You gotta take your bitters. It's good for you. In fact, open up the damn pill. Let it sit on your tongue. Let the sediment sit on your tongue for a while. Let it burn a little. Then drink it and taste it. It's horrible, but it's good for you. We don't want no pork gelatin capsules. We don't know what they put in these capsules. Just take the contents and throw everything else away. That's what I want you to do with this information. All the crap that they gave you, all it was a capsule. It was a placebo effect. You know what placebo is? You think you're taking a pill that will cure you, and just by the conviction alone that you believe you will be cured, it helps you. But that can only go on for so long before you actually need the real thing. You know, you've been taking this blue pill. Well, when you open it up, you won't see nothing in there but sugar. That placebo can't take you to the highest level. but it certainly can make you think you're enjoying yourself until you crash from the sugar rush. You open up this red pill, you'll see there's content in there. It's definitely bitter. Tastes bad? No, tastes good. If it's good for me, that's how good tastes. I hope you guys hear me. I hope you're walking with me. Here's an excerpt from Stocks and Bonds. Another hard pill to swallow. Perhaps the most important data for you to operate in commerce. You can find this from Stocks and Bonds, people. Banking institutions have made agreements to disclose data to the following, but not limited to the OCC, FED, CIA, Interpol. That should be the FBI. The OCC, the FBI, the CIA, and Interpol. I think I did it on purpose too, actually. This is intense information. The way I sign my name is the most important part of the setting up the bank account process. I have the following suffixed to my name in the terms and conditions agreement to open the bank account. At the end of my name, I write 12 USC 411, demand. I'm sure to sign this in blue ink. I got my own pen with me. Soon we're gonna talk about that purple ink. I'm signing in purple, royalty. We're gonna get into it. Why am I putting 12 USC 411 at the end of my name? Maybe I should set up the bank account and then I come back and say, I want to update my signature. Okay, we're gonna send it to you electronically. Great. Let me put this 12 USC 411 there. Get out of here. You'll see how people respond. Some of these codes, people be like, oh, you can't sign your name like that. That's part of my name. I have to do a legal name change and make that part of my name. There's levels to this. Like your name is 12 USC 411. Yep. Polite 12 USC 411. Yep. That's with you. That's where you guys have taken me. Oh no, but this don't count because this is your name. Oh no, my signature is just polite. But then that I was actually talking about the code. You gotta do what you gotta do. We're not gonna play in this world. I'm just talking talk. You ain't gotta really take this all the way to the highest level if you choose not to. Should you choose, we on our Mission Impossible. Might have to make that the next one. Should you choose to take on this mission. But let's get deep into this. On account to this code, in demand is suffixed to my appellation. I have removed myself of the injury brought about via the speculation that the bank will conduct amongst the aforementioned entities. That is the OCC. That is Interpol. That is the FBI. That is the CIA. They're constantly corresponding with. And other entities. Letting them know your business. I'm shifting responsibility from myself to the Secretary of Treasury where it belongs, and therefore I can't be accused of the responsibility that is passed on to the account holder via the signature card. I would love to go extremely in depth into this. I have to do that only for new cabinet members, the body politic, and it takes a great deal of responsibility to deal with these codes because I don't want people purposely doing things that they can get away with because of the codes. I want everyone to do the right thing. There's plenty of money out there for us to make. Don't attempt to cheat the system. Make the spot hot for everybody else. Be upstanding. Make your money the right way. But protect yourself from the vultures. So a lot of this, third parties going in your bank account, taking your money because of some grievance or because some debtor or pardon me, some creditor is saying that you owe money from all those little crazy agreements that be taking place in the background that when you set up this bank account, you don't even know this is going on. 12 U.S. Code 411, issuance to reserve banks, nature of obligation redemption. Let's read it. U.S. Code notes. Federal Reserve notes to be issued at the discretion of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the purpose of making advances to Federal Reserve banks through the Federal Reserve agents as hereinafter set forth, and for no other purpose are authorized. The said notes shall be obligations of the United States and shall be receivable by all national and member banks and Federal Reserve banks and for all taxes, customs, and other public dues. They shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States, in the city of Washington, District of Columbia, or at any Federal Reserve Bank. And here you have your references at the bottom of that. What the heck does that mean? Well, we go back up here. I am shifting the responsibility from myself to the Secretary of Treasury, where it belongs, and therefore I can't be accused of the responsibility that is passed on to the account holder via the signature card. Because again, even when you set up on a bank account, it's set up on the false pretense because they technically not even talking to you. That's why your check says authorized signature, because you're signing on behalf of a fiction. And those accounts are rendered onto or are the property of the Secretary of Treasury. So when things go wrong, don't blow up my spot, don't aggravate me. Send those receipts to the receipt holder of the corporation that is in debt that you know as the United States. If you connect the first class with this one, you're walking with me. You might have to watch it a couple times, but you're walking with me nonetheless. By the time we appropriate these codes, because you're going to need the banks to conduct transactions to purchase these properties, you're going to have to sign to close the transactions. When we look at this paper trail, you're in the clear. We're not going to play these games no more, because someone knows how to read. I might mispronounce something. I will misspell some things. I'm an avid reader. You put some numbers in front of me in the form of codes, I'm gonna body it. So I don't give a damn what level of education you have. They ain't never teach you these things in no class. This is how you function in your majority, not your minority. These classes are connected. And we're gonna leverage the information from these classes to conduct secured transactions as secured party creditors. And we will have our crowns and newly found status so we could purchase properties and amass wealth that pales in comparison to the way the laity does it every day under conditional interest, which is illegal, by the way, but the banks do it anyway because of the presumption of law. If you don't declare it illegal, it's perfectly legal. This is the summation of the legal fiction. This has everything to do with real estate. And by the time we get into the real estate portion of this, you're going to be so pumped, and on the level, it's ridiculous. Okay. Our members are protected from any form of erroneous commercial presentments on behalf of any straw man pledges. All members of the new covenant are corpus delicti, organic living souls, and never to be classified as civilly dead corporate fictions, brought into existence by the presumption of the item sonans. Any such alleged violation is disavowed, disaffirmed, and not admitted, as it is predicated upon an unconstitutional code of regulation, which as per UCC 1-103, 3-503, 3-308, see New Covenant Constitution. No member of the New Covenant should be compelled or coerced into breaking the covenant or contract that they have with their creator to appeal to the immoral an inferior department or instrument of man, acting as an alleged authority, functioning under the color of law, and therefore void ab initio. Conscious commerce is your spirituality, and economic sovereignty is your inherited birthright. Goddamn, I dropped out of school 10th grade. I wrote that. I don't play games. There's more to me than many people know. Join that membership. It's heating up. I'm just building up the membership so we can really take these things to the next level. Corpus delicti. Don't worry, we're going to get into all these things. I just got to integrate all this information. I got to make sure you get what you pay for based on what you say you want. But just like I was taught, I can't give you what you want, so you will learn to want what I have to give. That's what I was taught. If you know, you know. So absorb those UCC codes. We'll be back to discuss those UCC codes. We'll get ready to start filling out UCC financing statements and understanding where we put the properties at. We're going to work our way in and purchase that real estate. Get ready. We still got to do some title searching and deeding processes. We got to get into all of that. We got to get into the deeding process. We got to get into all of that. Well, we're starting from where the conversation should have been initiated. Aswad Gador. Oh, Hotep wa Aswad Gador. Peace and Black Power, or offerings, I should say. Hotep wa Aswad Gador, offerings and Black Power. But in our offerings, it brings about peace. A Hotep means offering. Iluvu, perpetual success. Thank you, guys. I've enjoyed this class. I know you have. Review this class. We're getting there. It's just class 2, the red and the blue pill. It's a whole nother world. We're getting there. Iluvu, I had a great time.